would argue that this planet's rich cultures and languages give each of us our own unique identity. But looking around, from cities to nations to continents, our world is shaping up to be one big neighborhood. For one group of people, there is but only one identity and one trait, one voice and one truth, one heartbeat and one God. And uniting this ever-flourishing family is one gardener, one keeper, spreading the seeds of spirituality and watering all with God's grace. One man who walks day and night to every corner of the world to embrace every beloved soul and gather all of God's seeds. Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, Khalifatul Masih V, the successor to the promised Messiah alayhi salam, and source of the same light as the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, now visiting the far east of our small world once again. Join us in this special series for the incredible journey of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih to the nations of Singapore and Australia, and let us bring you closer to the far side of the world. In the previous episode, we took you to Singapore with Hazrat Khalifatul Masih and brought you the incredible stories of Ahmadi Muslims in East Asia and Hazur's arrival in Sydney, his second trip to Australia so far. The Australian Ahmadiyya community is one of the earliest international communities established outside of India. Hazrat Musa Hassan Khan Sahib was the first Australian to enter the fold of Ahmadiyyat in 1903. The community has grown since then, establishing centres across Australia and becoming an integral part of Australian society. The first Ahmadiyya mosque in Australia was set up in Sydney, called the Badal Huda Mosque, which was to serve as the headquarters for the community. Unlike many international leaders, Hazur spent many of his days in Australia, personally meeting over 3,000 members of the community. The arrival of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih in Australia was the perfect opportunity to hold one of the key events in the Ahmadiyya calendar, the National Annual Convention, otherwise known as the Jalsa Salana. The convention was to be attended by more than 4,000 members of the community from in and around Australia, and it was to last 3 days. Prior to the Jalsa, Hazur inspected the infrastructure and organizational setups for the Jalsa on the 6th of October, with key attention paid to the welfare and care of the guests who were to come from far. The promised Messiah ﷺ has laid incredible importance on the good care of guests. In the early days of Ahmadiyyat, the promised Messiah ﷺ would at times care for the guests himself, sacrificing his own comforts for the sake of his guests. Following suit, Hazur inspected all aspects of Jalsa preparations and officially inaugurated the Jalsa and addressed the workers and volunteers directly, and advised them to conduct their respective duties with kindness and compassion. Hazur said that no task ought to be considered insignificant or ordinary, rather each and every assigned duty was of importance. Hazur said that as those who attended the Jalsa were deemed as guests of the promised Messiah ﷺ, they should all be treated in the best possible manner. Hazur said that non-Ahmadi guests were always impressed by the high moral standards and service of Ahmadis. Hazur addressed the gatherings at Badal Huda Mosque on all 3 days, starting with inaugural prayers and the raising of the Lawai Ahmadiyyat and the Australian national flag. The first address was on Friday the 4th of October, where Hazur said that the first small Jalsa that took place just 123 years ago in the small little hamlet of Qadian is today being held in all the continents of the world. It's being held in a faraway continent like Australia, which is thousands of miles away from Qadian, and thousands of men, women and children are participating in it. Hazur said that this same Jalsa, almost 1 month ago, was held with great majesty in the capital city of that country which governed over India for a very long period of time. Today, the officers and leaders of that country, and even the priests of that country, could not remain content without declaring that the message of Ahmadiyya Jamaat is the message of gathering people together, and that this message is the message of love, affection and brotherhood, and that this message needs to be spread throughout the world.
अब अहमदी होने के बाद इन बातों और इन चीज़ों और उन तोक़ुआत की तलाश की ज़रूरत है جو حضرت مسیح موعود علیہ السلام نے ہم سے کی ہیں. یہ جلسے کے 3 دن کیونکہ اجتماعی طور پر روحانی ماحول کے دن ہیں، اس لیے ان دنوں میں خاص طور پر تلاش کر کے اور یہاں کے پروگراموں سے فائدہ اٹھا کر ہمیں ایک حقیقی احمدی بننے کی کوشش کرنے کی ضرورت ہے.
On Saturday, 5th of October, Hazur made another address, this time to Lajna members of the community, reminding both men and women of their duties towards each other, their children and their faith, and how all should live their lives in a manner which portrays the best example for others.
کہ اگر تقویٰ ہو تو کبھی مسائل اتنے نہ بڑھیں جتنے اب بڑھ رہے ہیں. لڑکے بھی ماحول کے بد اثر سے بچنے کی کوشش کریں گے جب نیک لڑکی کی تلاش میں ہوں گے، تو پھر لڑکوں کو خود بھی نیکی کی طرف مائل ہونا ہوگا. یہ نہیں ہو سکتا کہ لڑکے تو آوارہ گردی میں مبتلا ہوں اور نیک لڑکیوں کی تلاش ہو. تو خود بھی جب نیک لڑکی کی تلاش ہوگی تو تقویٰ پر چلنا ہوگا. لڑکیاں بھی جب یہ دیکھیں گی کہ ہمارے رشتوں کی بنیاد نیکیوں پر ہے، تو پھر وہ اپنی دنیاوی خواہشات کے بجائے، اپنے غیر ضروری فیشنوں کے بجائے، ایک حد تک فیشن بھی جائز ہے، لباس کی خوبصورتی بھی جائز ہے، سنگھار بھی جائز ہے، لیکن جب یہ حد سے زیادہ بڑھ جائے تو وہ یہ پھر تقویٰ سے دور ہٹا کے لے جاتا ہے. تو جب لڑکیوں کو بھی پتہ ہوگا کہ ہمارے رشتوں کے معیار کیا ہیں تو وہ ظاہر ہے وہ نیکیوں پہ قائم ہوں گی. تو یہ 2 طرفہ عمل ہے، لڑکیوں کو بھی نیکیوں کے قدم مارنے ہوں گے اور لڑکوں کو بھی.
Hazur made his concluding address to the Jalsa Salana of Australia to more than 4,000 guests on Sunday the 6th of October, where he spoke of jihad in the modern day. Hazur said that we firmly believe in jihad, however the type of jihad required in the modern era has changed. At this time, no government or organization is physically attacking Islam in the name of religion. If Islam is being attacked today, it is not by the sword, but through the press, through the media, and through preaching. And so it is the need of the time that we respond using the very same means. That is what the promised Messiah ﷺ taught, to fight with our pens and not with our swords.
پر یہ واضح ہونا چاہیے کہ اسلام کی ترقی اب خلافت کے ساتھ وابستہ ہے، نہ کہ کسی مولوی اور کسی گروہ یا کسی حکومت کے ساتھ. بس یہی وجہ ہے کہ آج اللہ تعالیٰ نے جماعت احمدیہ کو دنیا کا رہنما بنایا ہے، جو حقیقی اسلام پیش کر رہی ہے، جو خاتم الخلفاء کے بعد اللہ تعالیٰ کے وعدے کے پورا ہونے کی شرط کو پورا ہوتے دیکھ رہی ہے، جو انفرادی اور اجتماعی عبادتوں میں بھی ترقی کر رہی ہے اور روحانی اور مالی قربانیوں میں بھی آگے بڑھ رہی ہے، مالی اور جانی قربانیوں میں بھی آگے بڑھ رہی ہے، اور اطاعت کے اعلیٰ نمونے بھی دکھا رہی ہے. اللہ تعالیٰ نے حضرت مسیح علیہ السلام سے جو وعدہ فرمایا تھا اس کی شرطیں پوری کرنے والے تو پیدا ہوتے رہیں گے انشاءاللہ تعالیٰ. حضرت صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم نے جو پیش گوئی فرمائی تھی وہ تو پوری ہوگی انشاءاللہ تعالیٰ، لیکن ہر احمدی کو یہ فکر بھی ہونی چاہیے کہ وہ اور اس کی نسلیں کہیں اس شرط کو پورا نہ کر کے انعام سے محروم نہ ہو جائیں.
After the concluding session, Hazur held the Bai'at ceremony or initiation into Islam Ahmadiyya. The Bai'at is a tradition dating from the time of the Prophet of Islam, Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is a pledge and affirmation of your faith, commitment and service to Islam and Khilafat under the 10 conditions of initiation set out by the promised Messiah alayhi salam. This was also an opportunity for all the members of the community to renew their pledge to Islam Ahmadiyya through the leadership of Khilafat, a process which is incredibly spiritual and life-changing for many. Thousands in Australia and millions around the world watching live on their TVs participated in the Bai'at ceremony. The Ahmadiyya Muslim community spans the entire world through the blessings of Allah, and it has been through the lifetime devotees called Waqfeen that people are guided and the community infrastructure remains strong and connected. These Waqfeen are from all walks of life. Some are missionaries spreading the message of Islam, Others serve as imams and community leaders. And there are many more who serve their faith and the larger community in all fields. The fourth successor to the promised Messiah, Hazrat Mirza Tahir Ahmad Khalifatul Masih IV Rahimahullah, launched the Waqf-e-Nau scheme, where children are dedicated for Islam by their parents before birth. These children are then guided and nurtured to be servants of Islam, and it is then only through their own choice that they finally become Waqfeen. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih continuously oversees and assesses many of the Waqf-e-Nau children personally and guides them towards positive goals for their future. For this purpose, he holds classes on his tours with Waqf-e-Nau of the region and guides them on all matters. Similarly, in Sydney also, many Waqf-e-Nau from across Australia attended the Waqf-e-Nau class with Hazrat Khalifatul Masih and received guidance from him.
Thousands of Ahmadiyya Muslims have been coming to this mosque in Western Sydney over the past few days to catch a glimpse of the man they believe to be the Muslim equivalent of the Pope.
The arrival of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih in Australia brought considerable interest from the local and national press and media. A few reporters had the opportunity to interview Hazrat Khalifatul Masih, including Bill Bertolds from the National Australian Broadcasting Corporation, who interviewed Hazur for ABC TV and radio. Speaking to ABC, Hazur said that wherever he has the chance, he will extend Islam's message of love and peace throughout the society and across the country. The truth is that the state of the world today is extremely dangerous, and so we must take steps towards peace, otherwise the consequences could be disastrous.
I'd like to ask you some questions about the Muslim community over here, particularly here in Western Sydney. As you'd be aware, it's a very multicultural area. There's a fairly large Muslim community. Do you think there are particular challenges for Muslim communities living in Western societies, such as Australia?
You see, if Muslims are practicing true Islam, then there should not be any challenge in absorbing, adjusting, and living in any of the society, whether it is Western or Eastern. In a short sentence, we have made a slogan of the teachings of Islam, that is love for all and hatred for none. And if that message is there, and as I have already said, the love of your country is part of your faith, both these messages are such, or the slogans are such, that I don't feel that we have any problem in adjusting ourselves in any of the society, whether it's Western or Eastern or whatever it is. We are law-abiding. We want, you see, we believe that Allah is not only for Muslims. Allah is Allah for the whole universe. And especially Allah likes His creation. Allah loves His creation. And wherever the rights of His creation are being denied, Allah is not happy with that. So, when you are discharging the rights towards your fellow being and you want to live peacefully in the society, you spread the message of love and harmony, I don't think there should be any problem in adjusting Muslims into the society.
Soon after the Jalsa, Hazrat Amir al-Mumineen set his attention on the youth of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in Australia. The community lays incredible importance on the right upbringing of children, and education is an integral part of this. For this purpose, there are Ahmadiyya Muslim student associations around the world that endeavor for the general educational uplift of men, women, boys and girls to pursue higher education and to provide them guidance on careers and research. The Students' Association plays an incredible role in providing all the support each student needs to pursue higher education for better service of their country. Hazur sat down and gave considerable time to both men and women. PhD and research students gave presentations on their topics of study. Hazur gave other students the opportunity to ask questions and inquired from many others on their educational pursuits and gave his guidance. The Holy Prophet of Islam ﷺ gave immense importance to education, and the Quran has made it compulsory for all men and women, young and old. In today's world of economic and political turmoil, the example of the Khalifa of Islam is unparalleled and unseen. Here is an international spiritual leader who not only has genuine concern for the education of all the members of the community, but is actively involved with all student associations around the world and constantly urges students to reach the highest stations of professionalism in all fields. On the 9th of October, Hazur was to depart for his first visit to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in Melbourne. After a brief flight, Hazur arrived in Melbourne and was received by the local Ahmadiyya Muslim community president before departing for the Ahmadiyya Centre. Melbourne is Australia's second largest city and the cultural capital of Australia. The Ahmadiyya Centre in Melbourne was purchased in 2010 and was previously a theme park. The only standing structure remaining at the grounds was the function hall, which is now the Ahmadiyya Centre, which has the capacity for over 2,000 people. Upon Hazur's arrival, hundreds of Ahmadi men, women and children lined the driveway and welcomed Hazur onto his first visit to Melbourne. After arrival, Hazur led the Zohar and Asr prayers. Apart from his other activities, Hazur met personally with many families and individuals from Melbourne. On the 11th of October, Hazur officially inaugurated the Ahmadiyya Centre in Melbourne and delivered the Friday sermon where he said that those of us who claim to be in the Bai'at of the promised Messiah ﷺ need to self-analyze as to how much are we fulfilling the objective of his advent. He said that faith is strengthened by perfect belief in God, but there is too much reliance on worldly resources. Today, reliance on God has become secondary while the importance of worldly people and worldly matters have become foremost. If we have not recognized the being of God as it is due even after taking bath, then it is of no value to call ourselves Ahmadi. If we today please our worldly masters more than God, then we do not fulfill the objective of the advent of the promised Messiah ﷺ.
फिर फरमाया कि इताअत के मयार हासिल करो। इताअत ये नहीं कि खलीफा वक्त के या निज़ाम जमात के फ़ैसले जो अपनी मर्ज़ी के हुए दिली खुशी से कबूल कर लिए, और जो अपनी मर्ज़ी के ना हुए उसमें कई किस्म की तावीलें पेश करनी शुरू कर दी, उसमें एतराज़ करने शुरू कर दिए। फरमाया कि ये बैत का दावा अगर है तो फिर इताअत भी कामिल होनी चाहिए। बस ये बैत का दावा, एतकाद का दावा, मुरीदी का दावा और हकीकी इस्लाम पर अमल करने का दावा या मुसलमान होने का दावा तभी हकीकी दावा है जब ये ऐलान हो कि आज बैत करने के बाद मेरा सब कुछ नहीं रहा, बल्कि सब कुछ खुदा ताला का है और इसके दीन के लिए है। और यही बैत का मकसद है कि अपने आप को बेच देना।
The same day, a reception was held in Hazur's honor where he delivered a keynote address to a gathering of more than 100 distinguished guests. Before the event, a few officials had the honor of meeting Hazur, including Major General Paul McClackham, the senior-ranking military officer in Victoria, the Honourable Anthony Byrne, and the Honourable Judith Grayling. The event was attended by more than 150 distinguished guests, which included interfaith leaders, professors, charities, community and military leaders, and government officials, including many members of the state and federal government, as well as members of the National Parliament, some of whom spoke at the event before Hazur's keynote address.
I welcome you to our beautiful country, Australia, and I hope that you enjoy your stay. 5 years on, our relationship is still going strong, and here we are today, celebrating this very special day and continuing to spread your beautiful message, love for all and hatred for none. If only every person on earth lived their life this way, there would be no war, only peace.
That message, that strong message that comes from your community, that comes from your religious beliefs of love for all and hatred for none, was something that resonated not only with my soul, but also with my head. And like the Mayor, I only wish that more people could take that message with them and live by it and spread it. So I'm very pleased to welcome you on behalf of every member of the local community here tonight.
We are particularly impressed with the members of the community in our area and our region who reach out to us in a spirit of your faith and a spirit of your teaching and your preachings to reach out to extend their hand in faith to us so that we can come together to create a meaningful dialogue, a dialogue that will result in deeper understanding. And if I can use, Your Holiness, the example of your local community, the work that they do in trying to reach out to us and the works that they do to benefit of the community in keeping with your teachings do great credit to you and to the people that follow your faith.
And so to be associated with, of course, your religion, especially your emphasis on love for all and, of course, hatred for none, is something that is integral to the success of our society and success of humanity. So welcome to Australia. We're delighted to be able to be a part of this reception. And, of course, I'd like to extend the greetings of the Premier, who also is unable to be here today. And on behalf of the State Government, I'm delighted to be here in his stead. Thank you very much.
The key themes espoused by His Holiness in many of his addresses, those of religious tolerance, loyalty to country, rejection of extremism, rebellion, disorder, commitment to community and the pursuance of peace, they resonate with the key values of the Australian military and all true Australians. I honour the sacrifices and risks you take to bring these messages to the world, and thank you for your gracious visit to our country.
During his address, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih analysed in detail the major threats to modern-day world peace, including the so-called Arab Spring, and spoke of his serious concern that the world was increasingly at the precipice of a horrific Third World War.
Here I would like to point out that this golden principle given by the Quran is not only for Muslims, but in fact it is a universal truth that in order to establish peace, justice must prevail. Unfortunately, when in the name of bringing peace, major powers interfere in the matters of other countries, they do not uphold the requirements of justice to the necessary degree or in minute detail. During a visit to the United States, I also addressed their senior politicians and policymakers. I clearly said to them that any act or policy they undertake to try and develop peace would never prove successful until all personal interests were set aside and until the requirements of justice were upheld in an entirely selfless manner.
I loved it. I can see why he's a leader of world peace, because he said exactly what I wanted to hear, and he touched on the countries and the problems of the world, and I can see why he is getting on with the heads of governments of other countries, and I wish all Islam leaders were like that, and we wouldn't have any trouble in the world.
It was an absolute honour for me to meet His Holiness. Truly, the values that the Ahmadi culture actually preaches are very, very close to our own. The love for all, hatred for none is a fantastic message, and it's something that the entire community should embrace.
Well, I thought his speech was very challenging, and I thought it was very important for us to be confronted with issues of the lack of justice in our world and the real importance of getting all people together to work together. There's not some people good, some people bad. We must always work together. And I thought that was the message that I took out of what he was saying.
It seems like after seeing His Holiness that there's been a special seed of peace sown in Melbourne. What His Holiness spoke about as far as Syria is concerned is of world importance, and fortunately there's someone like him to say it to world leaders, to politicians, to get their attention, because someone has to get their attention, and he lives it. It's inspirational.
I actually had an opportunity to go up to him and have a little chat with him. I asked a specific question about interfaith and peace building, and what he told me was very inspiring. Do you want to know what he told me? He said, peace begins with you. Peace begins at home. If you have peace in you, it means that you are projecting peace. And if every one of us had peace, it means that we'll be projecting peace to each other. That was very fundamental. That was very key to me.
Just like Sydney, Hazur also held Waqf classes for boys and girls in Melbourne. Earlier the same day, Hazur visited a few landmarks around Melbourne, including the sky-high view 2,000 feet above sea level from Mount Dandenong. Later in the evening, Hazur visited a bird park in the Dandenong Ranges, where he enjoyed feeding parrots and sulphur-crested cockatoos. These birds are naturally curious and very intelligent, and so are not shy to perch on shoulders and eat from hands. In the wild, when these birds feed on the ground, there is always one bird perched high on a tree, keeping a lookout for predators. In the wild, these birds can live up to 40 years. Some birds have even lived up to 70 years in captivity. The next day, Hazur held classes with students from Melbourne and advised them on various matters concerning their education. Hazur's blessed tour of Melbourne had come to a close, and on Monday the 14th of October, Hazur departed for Sydney. The Melbourne community gathered outside the Ahmadiyya Centre on a rainy morning to bid farewell to their Khalifa. Join us next week as we bring you more press coverage of Hazur's tour.
As leader of the Ahmadiyya, you've spent a lot of time promoting interfaith dialogue with followers of other streams of Islam. Has your work been successful?
The historic reception held in Hazur's honour in Sydney.
Peace is Islam, and he's carrying the message of Islam to Australia in a way that no others have done. And it was just a beautiful message to convey to the wider Australian society.
And Hazur's visit to Brisbane. If you wish to catch up on any missed episodes, please go to www.ondemand.mta.tv to catch all episodes, as well as other MTA programs on your PC, tablet or smartphone.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Today we welcome our viewers to Queensland. Situated in the northeast of Australia, Queensland is the second biggest state of Australia by area, with approximately 1.7 million square kilometres of land. This is more than twice the size of Pakistan. With a population of 4.5 million residents, Queensland is also the third biggest state in terms of population. The capital of Queensland is Brisbane, which is approximately 925 kilometres or 10.5 hours drive from Sydney. Queensland is famous for its major tourist attractions such as the Great Barrier Reef, beautiful beaches and plenty of sunshine. The famous Suncorp Stadium and Gabba cricket ground are located within close vicinity of the city. The Queensland Jamaat was established only 16 years ago, when there were only a handful of people and the Jamaat had little or no resources and used a small suburban house as the mission house, prayer centre and guest house. Jamaat numbers grew rapidly in the coming years and a property was sought for the purpose of building a centre for the community. Located between Brisbane and Gold Coast, the semi-rural site had very little or no infrastructure like town water or sewerage. But Jamaat had full faith and confidence in the provider, and in our beloved Hazur's foresight and guidance. One building was the prayer hall, and a partition for Lajna, with the second building utilised as a Murabi house and guest house. In Hazur's previous visit to Queensland in the year 2006, he also graciously visited this site and inaugurated this location as a place of worship and prayed with the Jamaat members for successful completion of this project. The construction activities at Baitul Masroor Mosque were launched on the 25th August 2012, attended by many Ahmadi and non-Ahmadi guests. The Baitul Masroor Mosque is the first Ahmadiyya mosque in Queensland. This beautiful mosque has a total land size of 10 acres, and the complex can accommodate over 900 worshippers in both halls. In building this mosque, special attention was paid to involve local town planners and builders. The earth contours of the block of land had many variations, and major earthworks were required in order to achieve a levelled surface for construction. Tilt panels were fabricated locally in the block and assembled together. This building has 12 arches at the front entrance and several symmetrical arches all around displaying beautiful traditional Islamic architecture. The minaret is over 9 meters high and has a small dome at the top. The smaller dome on the minaret and on the main hall was fabricated locally and was placed on top after the concrete and steel building structure was completed. It's a beautiful addition to the larger Logan area with a traditional look of the mosque and a minaret. By the grace of Allah, Jamaat Ahmadiyya Queensland has been blessed with a purpose-built place of worship. May Allah help us build many more of these mosques and fill them with many more worshippers. Ameen.